Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, Out of Voice Radio. So today, I am showing you a brand new Mesprit card that was revealed. It's currently the only place that has it is Pokebeach.com, and it's pretty good. And like we all suspected, it interacts with both Uxie, by which I mean Uxie, told you I'd get it wrong, and Azalf pretty nicely indeed. Now, these cards tend to do this. There was a deck back in the day, AMU, Uxie, Mesprit, Azalf. It was pretty good. It saw a little bit of play. They all interplayed together. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have the new versions. And you know what? Mesprit is the best of the ones so far. I feel pretty good saying that, to be honest. Now, it is a psychic Pokemon, which we would expect, and it does have 70 HP, which, to be fair, is a little bit more than we saw with Uxie and Azalf. Not very much more, but a little bit more. So, you know, could be worse. And it means that stuff like a Buzzwole with a Fighting Fury Belt and a Strong Energy will not get a KO here, although a Buzzwole with a Strong Energy, Fighting Fury Belt, and a Regirock absolutely will. But there's a big difference between 70 and 60 HP. Think of a Buzzwole using a couple of Jet Punches, hitting you with residual damage. 60 HP, you go down. 70 HP, you don't. An Espeon, using its first attack for a single energy, using a Psybeam, will do 60 and not get a KO, because you've got 70 HP. Don't get me wrong, you've still got very, very little health. But my point is, it could be worse. In terms of weakness, you are weak to Psychic, as I just intimated. And no resistance is a bit of a pain. Retreat cost of 1, pretty good, considering your attack is for a double colorless energy. Yeah, it's not entirely great. Sorry about that one. So, the ability here. If you have Azalf in play, your opponent's Pokemon have no resistance. Now, I'm sure it's a story I've told many times before, but my favourite deck ever was Donphan Prime. And back in the day, everyone was using SP, so everyone would just stick up a Crobat G. Because if I stuck an Expert Bout on my Donphan, I'd be hitting 80 damage. So my opponents would go, ha ha ha, Crobat G has 80 HP and a resistance to fighting, we can survive that hit. So I just started playing Ruins of Alph, and then Ruins of Alph took away their resistance and I got an easy KO. And that is a long-winded way of saying this can be the difference between a KO and not a KO. We see that flying Pokemon, when printed in the trading card game, they end up with a resistance to fighting, which could stop people getting a KO. We see that fairy Pokemon get printed with a resistance to darkness, which could be the difference between getting a KO and not. We see that lightning Pokemon do end up with a resistance to metal. So getting rid of these resistances can be absolutely huge in terms of getting a KO. So it's very nice then that we can get rid of resistance in this manner. Yay! Now, if you want a quick reminder on Azalf, I'm not going to go into huge amounts of detail because, well, I made a video about it. I'll pop a link to it in the description. But the best thing about it was for a single colorless energy, if you go second, on your first turn of the game, you get to shuffle one of your opponent's Pokemon into their deck. It's not particularly amazing, but it's not utterly, absolutely unplayably terrible. It's kind of cool as a turn one thing if you go second, but then you end up in this awkward position where it's kind of a one turn thing. Is it worth playing both Azalf and Mesprit to get rid of resistance? Well, firstly, Mesprit's got a really good attack, so maybe, but it really just depends on resistance. It's as simple as that. If resistance is something that you're really worried about, if it's something which is causing you problems, then yeah, it's definitely worth playing it for that. If not, then no, it's not worth playing for that. But the attack, I'm a big fan of the attack. I've already mentioned double colorless energy. It can be used for double colorless energy, but do remember that if you go into the expanded format, you get access to Dimension Valley, and Dimension Valley will reduce this to a single psychic energy as a cost, which is significantly better. But this attack is good. 20 damage, not good. If Yuxi is on your bench, this attack does 70. That's perfect. That is the number. 70 is the number. Because you had a choice band and you're hitting 100. You're hitting for weakness, it goes up to 200. And if we look at the Pokemon at the moment that have psychic weakness, that are GXs that we really want to KO, we've got Buzzwole, 190 HP will go down, and we've got Espeon, 200 HP will go down. Now, the one problem with this is that Naganadel will be out by this stage. Naganadel is looking like a really good card, 1 colorless energy, 20 damage for each Ultra Beast in play, free energy GX attack, reset both players to free prizes. Yowza. That's actually got 210 HP, which means that Mesprit here, with a double colorless energy and a choice band, will be 10 damage short of getting a KO, which is in and of itself a little bit of a problem. But outside of that, the damage here that you're doing with Mesprit is really very nice. But you've got to have a Yuxi on the bench for this to do the extra damage. What does Yuxi do? 1 psychic energy, 30 damage. During your opponent's next turn, you can stop them using a particular move. So I gave examples like making sure Buzzwole can't use Jet Punch, or making sure that a Golisopod that is active can't use Armor Press, so they can only use First Impression, but they came active last turn, so First Impression will only do 30. Alrighty then. Uxi's got a little bit of use, but then we get into this awkward situation. One of the reasons why Mesprit is so good is because it attacks for a double colorless energy and can one-hit KO GXs, which means you can put this into any deck and have a 1 energy basic Pokemon answer to either Espeon or Buzzwole. That's really good. Being able to counter widely played Pokemon for a single energy on a basic Pokemon is wonderful. Except now you got to have a Yuxi on your bench. But then you need Psychic Energy because it doesn't attack for colorless energy. So now you might go, well, I'm playing a Garbodor deck, I'm cool with this. Or you might say, well, I'm only using it to do the extra damage. And just playing a Yuxi onto your bench to do extra damage with Mesprit, I don't think it's the most efficient use of resources. Now, there is one thing here which does potentially change things, and that is that it's not just trying to get big one-hit KOs on your Buzzwole, etc. Because 70 HP is pretty much the right amount of damage to take out your basic Pokemon. So you get your Pokemon like, for instance, your Rockruff, your 60 HPs, but then you're hitting up to your 70 HP Grubbins, for instance, as well. Now, ironically, this does mean that you hit a bit of an issue with Zorua, who has 60 HP but a resistance to Psychic. But then, of course, you play Azalf as well, and then your resistance goes away, and then you can get a one-hit KO with Mesprit. There is clearly a lot of potential here with this attack doing 70 damage on a basic for a single energy attachment. But the big problem you've got here, and it is a big problem, is that you also need to play Yuxi and Azalf in order to really make the most of Mesprit. And I don't know that either Yuxi or Azalf are quite good enough. I do like Yuxi's Disable attack. I'm assuming it's Disable. But I'm not a huge fan of Azalf. And I don't know if playing all 3 of them is going to work. But I do think it's something people are going to play around with. I do think it's going to be a bit of fun. And I would expect to see these kind of decks popping in and around tournaments here and there. Either way, I feel fairly comfortable giving this 3 Wassies. It's not a stunning card, but there is potential here, and I do think people are going to be able to break this card, and that, to me, is a Pokemon that we need to take a little bit seriously, or at the very least, pop a copy in our binder just in case we ever want to play with it. But as always, ladies and gentlemen, this is the kind of video I want to hear from you guys. Tell me what you think about Mesprit. I would be delighted to hear it. Whack it down there in the comment section. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel and get some bonus podcasts in the process, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio. That's where that happens. And do make sure you check out Wassy Plays, my video game channel as well, because I upload videos there and it's kind of fun. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross and you've been watching PTCG Radio.